Good evening. I think we'll go ahead and get started. It is now the appointed hour. It is my duty to recognize special people in the room, and I thought about that for a moment, and I'd like to recognize my wife, Kay Knapp, my wife of 42 years, who is a very special person in the room. But as a matter of fact, this is a whole room full of special people. One of the things that makes Cupertino such a remarkable place is that it is a community of capable volunteers. And some of our hardest working and often unrecognized volunteers are our city council members. They probably feel right at home in this room. They were here till close to midnight last night, and I see them here again. And let me just mention them to you. First, I have the Vice Mayor, Richard Lowenthal, who is off doing another event, civic duty, and he will be here shortly. He'll be here in time to make the presentation, but he asked me to make his apology for not being here at the beginning because he serves the community in a great many ways, and he's off doing that right now. We also have Councilmember Sandra James, who is here, and you will be seeing her in a moment. And Councilmember Dolly Sandoval. And Councilmember Chris Wong. And finally, without further ado, I'd like to introduce our Honorable Mayor, Patrick Kwok.
Thank you, Dave. This is indeed a great event for Cupertino today. I want to thank everybody for being here tonight. This event is my favorite. It is the event when we come together as a city and a community to recognize people who help to make our community a wonderful place. People have always been the difference in Cupertino, and that is what we are here tonight. CREST, it stands for Cupertino Recognizes Extra Steps Taken. All the people and organizations tonight have taken the extra steps of volunteering their time again and again, and as a result, we are very rich as a community. Tonight is a gesture of appreciation. As mayor, I have the privilege to begin these happy proceedings. In 2002, our past CREST Award winner, Robert Yee, at the Senior Center asked if we would stop doing our presentations in alphabetical order. He was tired of being the last. Since then, in honor of Robert and the Senior Center, the presentations are not in alphabetical order. Today is the 11th year of our CREST Award. 11 good years, and we have many hundreds and hundreds of volunteers that have been recognized. Tonight, we're adding more to the list. We have 10 recipients, 4 groups of 6 individuals. And I will start off with the first presentation. And the presentation will begin with a brief introduction by the presenter, followed by a video, and then the awards. It is my pleasure tonight to present this award to Catherine Wong. Catherine Wong, I know Catherine for over 20 years, and his family, and we have been friends for many years, going to the same church together. And Catherine and my wife, Susan, are both registered nurses working for Kaiser. Catherine is nominated tonight because of her exemplary efforts in helping our community. She is nominated by the Cupertino Senior Center. The CREST Award is given to her because of her continued commitment in the community, Senior Center, and its members. Catherine is a registered nurse, as I indicated. She joined the center about 5 years ago, working together to make sure that the blood pressure checks are available to all members at least once a week. She works very closely and a very good, strong rapport with our seniors and members who will open up in them, allowing the nurses to steer them in the directions of which they can get further needed assistance. It may be a connection to the center's case manager or to persuade them to follow up with their prime care physician. In addition, Catherine is a vice nurse at Kaiser. She's very concerned about the well-being of the members, and through her, the senior center established a very good working relation with professionals and cover topics such as blood pressure, women's health aging, lab testing, and skin care. And the lectures were translated in Mandarin, and through her efforts, she has done a lot to help Asian Americans and as well as all the seniors of different races at the senior center. So let's roll on the video.
As one of 2 volunteer registered nurses at the Cupertino Senior Center, health advocate Catherine Wong would wholeheartedly agree with Benjamin Franklin's statement, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
Especially with the seniors nowadays who are living almost, 15 to 20 years longer, and self-responsibility is very important. You want to be aware of the information, make your choices, and to prevent, further any unnecessary physical suffering.
Catherine began helping out at the center about 6 years ago, taking members' blood pressure. An advice nurse at Kaiser Hospital, she quickly recognized the need to bring a structured health education program to the seniors. Using her contacts at Kaiser, she initiated a series of health lectures provided by medical professionals. Last year, more than 400 seniors attended the lectures.
Kaiser has been doing a very good job providing the necessary information, so I feel that is very rewarding because this is what I believe in. I try to take care of myself and my family, and I try to practice what I believe in.
Catherine came to the U.S. more than 40 years ago and speaks 2 Chinese dialects, a comfort for many senior immigrants feeling the stress of adapting to a new life.
But it's hard for them to speak up, so I listen. And then if they are, if their blood pressure is being affected, if they start crying, or if they feel like they are really quite stressed out, I refer them to the social workers, see if anything, could help out. Maybe they are in the situation that really need to speak with someone. So that's my cause right now. I feel like I need to speak up for other grandparents.
And what does she gain?
By volunteering, I think that helps to lift up your spirit and also let you live with some compassion.
Catherine? Catherine? In addition to the CREST Award being offered by the City of Cupertino, we also have 3 commendations from our legislatures. The first one is the County Board of Supervisors list representing Cupertino, and second is Sally Lieber, Assemblywoman, representing Cupertino, and lastly is Senator Joe Simisian, representing Cupertino again. So it's my pleasure to present this award, the CREST Award, to Catherine Wong. Couple more. Three other commendations. So Catherine, would you like to say something?
Thank you. Of course, thank you, Mayor Kwok, for this honor, and also want to thank the City of Cupertino, as well as want to say thank you to the Cupertino Senior Center. They have a wonderful staff there. If anyone who hasn't had a chance to go there, please drop by there. Of course, I'd like to share this award with all the volunteers. I know there are a lot of people out there that are doing volunteer work, and so here's to everyone's good health. Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations again. I'd like to introduce Councilwoman Chris Wong to present the awards to the next two recipients.
Thank you, Mayor Kwok. Good evening, everybody. It's my honor to present the next recipient of CREST Award to Alan and Marge Taniguchi. I know them from very beginning of the service on council. The beginning of last year, one of the few assignments that I got appointed by my colleague, council colleague, was to be the liaison for City City of Cupertino. And so I attend the meeting to Toyokawa City City committee meeting. And I was impressed. That's just really a fun group. People, they delegated their time and hours and serve the community and do the work. And amongst this diligent group people, I immediately, caught my eyes with Alan and Marge, because they are two of the few lone workers in that, volunteers in that group. Alan designed the graphic for the Cherry Blossom Festival, which is one of the events they do the fundraising for the festival for the exchange students and for the Sister City. And it was just amazing. If you have not seen that, you should look for that next year, because the Cherry Blossom is every year in April. It's really awesome job. And Alan spends times on that and make it really a professional job. And I can't describe anymore. I really encourage you to take a look at that next year. Marge is the treasurer for 5 years for that organization. And she also co-chaired the Cherry Blossom and also the student exchange program for this organization. What really inspired me was that they both have a full-time job, but they put in hours delegated to this organization and work for everything. Their daughter went to Toyokawa as the student delegate 7 years ago. They started to contribute and to work for this organization, volunteer for that. It's just so amazing. This is people that we really should recognize and that work for just kind of behind the scene. So I'm so honored to have this opportunity to present the award to this couple. I will just add a little bit about their other volunteers besides the Sister City. They also volunteer to PTA. They volunteer to the Girl Scout, and they also volunteer some function for the church. So amazing couples, and let's watch the tape to tell you more about their volunteering work.
I feel you should volunteer in something, in a project that you have a passion for, that's something that you can get enthusiastic about, because then it becomes fun.
Marge and Alan Taniguchi found their passion about 7 years ago when their daughter visited Japan as part of a student exchange delegation from Cupertino.
When our daughter went, she had such a wonderful experience that I wanted to give back to the program. So we just started going to the meetings, kind of listening to see how the organization was run. Turned out to be a great group of people to work with, and they still are. And so we just started, volunteering more and more wherever wherever they needed help. And now we're heavily involved.
The Taniguchis are among a core group of dedicated volunteers on the Cupertino Toyokawa Sister City Committee, which sponsors student exchanges and the annual Cherry Blossom Festival. Marge co-chaired the festival and the exchange program last year, and Alan continued devoting his time and talent as the group's resident graphic artist and on-the-spot helper. Throughout their 20 years in Cupertino, the Taniguchis have been volunteers in school, scout, and church groups. Today, they find tremendous satisfaction in their service to the Sister City Committee.
I guess I enjoy seeing the faces of, especially the children of this program when they come back. Before they go, there's a lot of apprehension, a lot of questions, but when they come back, they're all full of life, that they've seen a lot over there. They're really excited about sharing their experiences with us, and it's really a rewarding thing. So that, to me, is what makes it worthwhile. It's really a good feeling. So I think exposures to other cultures and peoples broadens their knowledge and makes them more acceptable to other things other than what we consider, normal for us. And these kids come back and tell us about these different things, and so they've learned some of these other customs, and it makes it, I think, a better world that way.
I'd like to invite Alan and Margie to come to the podium and receive the award. Please come forward. And I know we keep mentioning about their daughter, and their daughter also here today to share the honor. So I'd like to introduce Vicky, the daughter. She attended the Cupertino School from Lincoln, Kennedy, and Monte Vista. Vicky, would you like to stand up? There she is. All right. Here is the award. Okay. Great.
Thank you.
Carol, and would you like to say something?
Yes, I would. Honorable Mayor Kwok, City Council members. Alan and I have always enjoyed volunteering and working behind the scenes, never expecting any individual recognition. So we are very honored and deeply touched by being nominated and receiving this award. We would like to express our appreciation to the Cupertino Toyokawa Sister City Organization, the Cupertino School District, and the City of Cupertino for their continued support of the Cherry Blossom Festival and the Student Exchange Program. Why don't you stand right here? Keep me company. In 1997, our daughter Vicky asked if she could apply for the Student Exchange Program to Toyokawa. Little did we know that this would be the start of a rewarding journey. Our daughter is now a senior in college, and she still has fond memories of her homestay in Toyokawa. As members of the Toyokawa Sister City Organization, we look forward each year to sending a new group of young middle school students off to experience a different culture and lifestyle and new friendships. The Cherry Blossom Festival raises funds to assist in deferring some of the travel costs to the students. It continues to give us great pleasure in knowing we are part of a dedicated team of volunteers working to keep this program going so future students can have the opportunity of participating in this homestay exchange. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Congratulations.
The next CREST Award recipient I would like to introduce is a very good friend of mine, Gilbert Wong. There's so many good things that I don't know how to start with. Gilbert, let's go from the professional part of it. Gilbert is the 204 chairperson of the Chamber of Commerce Asian American Business Council, and he was just instrumental in elevating the stature of the chamber. Gilbert helped to the chamber to increase their member of Asian businesses to 30% in a year, and Gilbert helps a lot of functions. Three major one I'd like to emphasize is the Lunar New Year Unity Parade. Gilbert is director of a board member, and Gilbert helped at the Moon Festival luncheon fundraising for Chamber, and he also helped the Diwali Festival of Light celebration. Gilbert is currently the Planning Commission chair. We just noticed that he have no absence this year in the serving at Planning Commission. That's really something I'd like to emphasize. And he is so diligent working for the community. He is currently the Chamber of Commerce board member and also the vice president of Outreach and Community. He's currently working for his family business in real estate investment and management. And Gilbert is a person that once you get acquainted with him, you want to be his friend, you want to be his good friend. Because every time you need help, you call him up, he will help, and he'll be there for you. And I'm really honored to be a good friend of Gilbert. Gilbert has two beautiful daughters, Allison, 5 years old, and Emily, 6 months, and with mom, Helen, today here. Let's watch the tape, and I'll get a word later. Let's watch the tape first.
Many of the city's most effective leaders and dedicated volunteers came out of the Leadership Cupertino program, and Gilbert Wong is certainly a case in point. Shortly after graduating from the program, he secured a spot on the city's Planning Commission, where he now serves as chairman. He also began volunteering for the Chamber of Commerce's Asian American Business Council.
The goal of the Asian American Business Council is to bridge the Asian business community with the mainstream business community, and I felt that was a perfect niche for me to get involved.
So it was. Gilbert went right to work bringing in new members, increasing representation of Asian-owned businesses by 30%. Then he started looking for ways to bridge cultural divides in the community.
We have an annual lunar luncheon, which corresponds with the Chinese New Year, and we have it each year. Has been very successful to get both business community leaders, elected officials locally here in Cupertino, and the business community to come together. Another thing that we started 2 years ago was the Diwali Festival and the Moon Festival luncheon. The Moon Festival is another Chinese holiday that is not as known as the Chinese New Year holiday.
Through countless hours of volunteer work, Gilbert has been instrumental in the success of these events. He says they are designed to make Cupertino an inclusive community, and he stresses that new immigrants also have a role to play.
And being born and raised here in Santa Clara County and living in Cupertino for the past 12 years, I believe that I can be a good bridge between both sides, and also kind of educate the newcomers that you need to really utilize, if you're very busy working or you're busy with your kids, there's other ways to help by, joining the PTA, joining the school site council, maybe volunteer at the CCS kitchen. I want folks to get involved.
I'm so pleased to present this award to Gilbert. Gilbert, can you come to the podium?
Are you proud of your dad? Huh? Yeah? Yeah. Here we go.
Take that for. And also here's all the finances from Sal Lieber's office and Liz Ness's office.
Thank you very much, Chris.
Would you like to say something? Here. Oh, go ahead, say something.
Thank you, Councilmember Chris Wang, Mayor Kwok, and City Council members, and City Manager Dave Knapp. This is an honor to receive this award. Volunteer is something really special to me, especially with a family. I want to say special, to my spouse Helen for giving me the time to volunteer because it's really, really hard. I like how it was opened up with Leadership Cupertino because that's how I got involved in thinking about how to volunteer. And I think Daryl Still really led the way for me to think about how to volunteer. There's other ways to volunteer other than running for elected office or being on commission. They are rewarding. Volunteering for the Cupertino Chamber of Commerce was a perfect niche for me, especially being on the Asian American Business Council. It's the best way to bridge the community and to bring business folks together through the Lunar New Year Luncheon, the Moon Luncheon, and Diwali. I want to say special thank you to Jody Hansen for nominating me, and really looking forward to working with our new CEO, Chris, as well as Mike Folks, our president. Thank you very much for coming tonight.
All right, now I'd like to introduce you Councilwoman James, who will present the next recipient.
I am very, very honored to introduce to you this evening someone who started her career by volunteering to join the Army in World War II and fight with all those very brave people who secured our liberty and gave us the right to be here tonight to do these kinds of celebrations. And as she retired in the latter parts of her career, she is still volunteering, and she's volunteering to help all of us in our community. Please let me introduce you to Alice Jarrett.
Alice Jarrett was born to be a nurse. It was her mother's dream, and Alice was inspired by it. What the fates couldn't have known, though, was that the young Alice would turn her calling into a lifelong commitment to community service.
Well, it's something you make time for. And if you care about people, then you don't mind volunteering.
Alice cares a lot. She's been a Red Cross volunteer for 50 years, beginning in high school. She devotes countless hours to her church, and she's been a volunteer registered nurse at the Cupertino Senior Center for the past 25 years.
Well, mostly it's taking blood pressures here, and then we try to do some educational work along with it, with the pamphlets and with the individual problems of the people that are having their blood pressure taken. So they want to know how to get their blood pressure at the right level, so you're trying to help them do that.
Although she's now retired, Alice renews her nursing license at her own expense to stay current with medical advances while she works at the Senior Center. She makes sure blood pressure testing is available every week and maintains all equipment and records. Genuinely concerned for the health and safety of Cupertino seniors, Alice finds intense satisfaction in her work.
They're wonderful people, and it's nice when they finally take care of themselves. And I think that's the same way with our taking blood pressures. When you finally are successful in getting people to read the labels on the cans of food and not choose the high sodium foods, why you feel like you're of assistance to them. So I think it's very rewarding.
There's no doubt Alice's mother would agree.
Alice, will you please join me up here on the stage? I hate being behind a podium. And you're not any bigger than I am, so we're not going to hide behind a podium. We're going to stand out here. You know, I have a personal story to share with you. About 3 years ago, I'm incredibly healthy and have excess energy, as everybody knows. And about 3 years ago, when I was at City Hall, I got incredibly dizzy. and felt very, very strange. And I went across the street to the fire station and I said, hey guys, there's something wrong with me. And my blood pressure was 220/105. And you know what? If they hadn't got me to the hospital and someone like Alice hadn't educated me and helped me with that, I probably wouldn't be here tonight. Everybody, has the potential to have a problem with their blood pressure. And one of the biggest gifts that Alice gives to everyone is to share that with them, to teach them about how to stay healthy, to help them to feel good about who they are. And she does that just amazingly well. You come and get your blood pressure tested by Alice, and you go away telling her your life story, and she finds out other things that are going on in your life and refers you to people and different agencies that can help you. You are truly a treasure for this community. One of the reasons we do the CREST Awards is to honor the people that are volunteering, but also to encourage other people to volunteer. And I hope, especially people that watch this program, and many, many do, are really, really inspired by people like Alice, Jarrett. So let me give you your award. It's a beautiful one. This is the CREST Award presented to you by the city. I hope you keep it in a special place. These are from your elected officials from the county and the state. Would you like to say something?
Well, I'd like to encourage everybody to get their blood pressure tested. Number one. I want to thank the Cupertino Senior Center for nominating Kathy and I. We, of course, deserve it, but there are a lot of people working at the Senior Center that put in countless hours, many, many, many hours for seniors there. And if you are a senior and haven't been there, you should come and visit. It's a wonderful place. And the staff is absolutely, couldn't be better. And we're proud to be associated with them. And it's been a real thrill for us to represent that center. And we hope to keep going. I still think that it's wonderful to be recognized for maybe helping people in any profession, and it's always a thrill to have somebody follow your instructions. So anyhow, so be good to yourselves. Everybody.
Okay, I will.
The vision isn't what it used to be.
Okay. The second recipient that I have the honor to introduce you to, I have known for a very, very long time. She is a personal friend, and she also is one of the treasures that we have in this city. Please allow me to introduce you to Frances Seward.
Frances Seward, a retired bank manager, knows all about investments. But these days, instead of dollars, her investments involve time and expertise. The payoff is huge.
The most rewarding is to see the people that I help at CCS get in a place where they emotionally and physically feel better because they don't have the pressure of the debt and the banks calling them because of the financial situation. And there are many people that I help that work 40 hours a week and yet only make $1,600, $1,700 a month take-home pay. It's really, really difficult to make ends meet in this area or in anywhere on that kind of income. So these are people that are doing everything they can to support themselves and their families, but just need a little guidance and help in the right direction so that they don't have that burden on top of them.
A short year ago, Frances approached Cupertino Community Services and offered her services as a financial counselor to CCS clients. Working 2 days a week, she established the Money Management and Counseling Program, a free service that helps people with budgeting, credit issues, and banking needs.
When I was a bank manager. There were many people that came to me that I didn't have time to help in the way I'm helping now. And I felt this might be a place where I could put up my signage, so to speak, and be able to help people in the community with debt and banking issues that they didn't have any idea how to cope with. And as it's turned out, it's worked out really, really well.
In addition to her work with CCS, Frances also chairs the De Anza College Commission and was honored by the Chamber of Commerce as its 2005 Ambassador of the Year. And about that return on her investment?
This saying that people say is so true, that when you volunteer and when you give to the community and to individuals, you really do get more out of it than you're able to give. And that is a phrase that is said over and over, but it is really very, very true.
Frances, would you join me, please? She's not any bigger than I am either. Oh, we got a bunch of shorties here tonight, huh? Oh my, I've known Frances a long time, and she mentioned that she wanted something to do to leave her signature on. The reality is she could hang a shingle out there and make a lot of money doing what she does for free, because she is very gifted and very talented and extremely knowledgeable in the area of finance. Personally, I've been a widow for 15 years, raising a son on my own who's graduating in 2 days from college. Thank you, God. And Frances helped me a lot, work through some of the financial challenges. We talked a lot about that, and now she's been in a similar situation herself as a widow, and has decided to help other women in similar situations, many of whom have never handled money before. It all comes very new to them and sometimes very suddenly. But the idea of going to CCS and offering to help people who are really needy and probably don't have a lot of sophistication in financial management was her idea. It was one she talked to me about and she talked to CCS about, and in our valley of creativity and innovation, as Rick Kitson likes to say, she did what we're known for here, and she came up with something that's innovative, creative, and very, very successful. However, Frances not only brings her financial expertise, she brings a huge heart and a tremendous amount of understanding and compassion. It is very difficult for people to talk about their financial problems and to not be humiliated in the process. She never does that. She makes them feel good about themselves. She helps them to be successful. She's truly a treasure, and I thank her for all of the citizens of our community. Thank you.
Thank you.
And here is your beautiful CREST Award and your certificates from your elected officials. And would you like to say something?
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank Jacqueline at CCS for nominating me. It was quite a surprise. Also want to thank the City Council and just let everybody know that, well, I feel very honored to have been recognized, because I do this because it's what I want to do. And then to be recognized is sort of like frosting on the cake. So thank you very much.
And now I would like to introduce my fellow councilwoman, Dolly Sandoval, who will present the next two recipients.
Good evening. It's my true honor to present the next recipient of our CREST Award. This is Diane Benedetti, who is involved with The Better Part, and I'd like you to watch the video to introduce yourself to her, or she to you.
A few years ago, Diane Benedetti never would have dreamed that she'd be the executive producer of a multi-award-winning television production team.
I knew nothing about video. I didn't even know how to take a picture on a camera, let alone anything about TV. So this is really a learn on the job.
It certainly says something about this determined and energetic volunteer that in just a short time she would go from typing letters for Cupertino Senior Center TV productions to mastering every piece of technical equipment in the studio, and then emerging as a key player in the ongoing success of the group.
It's just something I love doing. I really like organizing and detail work and making sure everybody gets their job done. That's what I like to do.
The seniors have been producing shows for an access program called The Better Part for more than 20 years, and they've always had an excellent track record. In the past 5 years, with Diane's steady involvement, the group has racked up an additional 14 awards. More than awards, though, Diane finds ways to promote the team's programs, to keep the schedule on target and to meet deadlines. Last year, she facilitated a complicated transfer from the group's De Anza College studio to a public access studio in Mountain View. Through it all, she remains upbeat and enthusiastic.
The biggest reward from having belonged to this group for 10 years was once a month I get an education from our guests. I have learned so much about so many things that I would never know if I hadn't belonged to this group.
Volunteering has always been a way of life for Diane.
I've always volunteered. Growing up, that's what my mother was like, I guess. All I remember is you know, if something needs to be done, you volunteered for it.
As you heard in the video, Diane has been with The Better Part for over 10 years and has been the executive producer, and under her leadership, The Better Part has won numerous awards. Diane has also been the spearhead and leadership, was at the helm when The Better Part celebrated their 20th anniversary in 2003 with a huge gala over at the Cupertino Senior Center. Diane's not shy on either end of the camera, by the way. She's been involved and interviewed by Comcast's Jack Hansen in 2004. She's been involved and interviewed with the Cupertino Courier, and as well as KMTV Newsletter, getting the word out about The Better Part and how seniors in our community can get involved and volunteer in the community, learn from each other, and of course educate all in what we're doing in our daytime lives these days. Diane's been a strong advocate with the Cupertino Channel, and let me just underscore the transition of having the station move from De Anza College to Mountain View. It was really spearheaded with Diane's leadership that was a successful transition. As with change, people are very hesitant or weary about what will happen. But with Diane's enthusiasm and energy and confidence, the transition went smoothly, and many people involved with The Better Part and the television center in general have complimented both Diane, the City Council, our staff, and KMTV staff on this smooth and excellent transition. Diane, why don't you come on up? A couple other notes. Under Diane's leadership, the group got involved with the Cupertino Historical Project and devoted many hours to documenting the history of Cupertino. And you've gotten involved with the Lunar New Year Parade, having a bus full of people out there promoting the station and The Better Part. And you interviewed me, which was even the most fun. So thank you so much for your activity and your energy and your compassion to the citizens and residents of Cupertino. You well deserve this.
Thank you, darling.
I'll give you your awards in just one moment, but I'll let you have a chance to say something.
When I was thinking about what I might want to say tonight, it began sounding like the Academy Awards, and I just hate that. But I do. I really want to say thank you to my group. You can't be the executive producer and produce good shows without a working crew of 20, and they've been wonderful. And the city, I've enjoyed working with the council, and Rick Kitson has been a delight, And we did a show with Richard Lowenthal, too. We've got to get the rest of the city council up there. But, and I also want to thank my husband and family for their support, and my TOPS Club, which I do a lot of volunteering, and they do a lot of volunteering. Volunteering is a fun thing to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Here's your beautiful plaque.
Beautiful. And all these wonderful goodies.
And your proclamation.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Diane. I'd like to now introduce my colleague on the City Council, Councilman Richard Lowenthal.
This is such great fun. You know, there's a talk I give about the Cupertino miracle. The Cupertino miracle is that we are one of the 4 lowest funded cities in the state. We are in a constant state of reduced budgets. We're going to talk about the library a lot, but the library has been particularly a victim of reduced budgets. But we are always award winning. Our schools, we have the best, highest rated schools in the state. Our library wins awards. It's all about the volunteers. We absolutely couldn't do it without the volunteers. Cupertino is unique in our dependence on volunteers. And what you're going to hear about next is several groups that help make our library the best in the nation. So why don't we roll the tape?
It was Saturday, October 30th, 2004.
I was standing between the ceremony, that is where the officials were, and the doors. And the instant the doors were open, I had to move very rapidly to avoid being trampled in the rush. And it was just a solid stream of people, literally shoulder to shoulder, rushing into the new library, and I was standing there smiling from ear to ear.
After several years in the planning stages and nearly 2 years since the groundbreaking ceremony, Cupertino's crown jewel finally opened and everyone celebrated. But the most heartfelt cheers came from the city's library community, 4 groups of passionate, dedicated volunteers that worked tirelessly to see the dream come true. The Cupertino Library Foundation concentrated on fundraising, collecting hundreds of thousands of dollars for new tables, shelves, and computers. Their efforts continue today.
When we finish the campaign to raise money for the furnishings and equipment, then we'll just go on raising money, and we will use it to make things better.
Echoing the theme of enhancing library services are the Friends of the Cupertino Library, a support group for more than 40 years. Members conduct 3 book sales annually, and the money goes toward children's reading programs and other projects. Last year, the Friends helped furnish the new story room and purchased an automated checkout machine. They've become such a fixture of the Cupertino Library that the new building was even designed with them in mind.
We do have an area of the library that's assigned to us where we actually accumulate the books for the book sale. We do sorting of the books and collection of them, and they designed that area to accommodate that activity.
The library's form and function was discussed at many public meetings, and the Cupertino Library Commission served as an important conduit between community and council.
But for the last 2 or 3 years, probably even more than that, the commission has been pretty involved with construction of the new library. That has taken up most of our time and effort. And we had the members of the public come to our commission meetings with concerns about, parking and self-check machines and book drop and so on.
Cupertino has the highest circulation among the 9 county libraries, so it follows that we are a community of book lovers. The Cupertino Library volunteers, from high school students to seniors, share that passion for books. Some of the adults have been volunteering for 17 years, and the teens often stay until they move away to college. Their dedication was especially appreciated during the move from the temporary library to the new facility.
Remember, we were in a small 10,000 square feet library, and we moved into this library. But what we also had is about 6,300 boxes of books that we had stored from the old library. So we had to unpack all of them, put them in the shelf, and make sure that they're integrated with the stuff that we brought from the temporary library, and make sure that they are in exact order so that when the public comes in, they could use it. Plus a large amount of cleaning up. So they were really, really helpful.
Members of each of these groups will tell you how rewarding it is to see how quickly the new library has become an educational and social center for all ages and cultures.
It has enriched our lives. Like I said, we're all people who care deeply about what a library does. And to be given the opportunity to have some input in how the library runs and issues that are important to the library and to people who use the library, is a huge privilege, and I think we all feel lucky that we're a part of it.
I will have the pleasure of awarding two of the four groups, I think it is, that are supporting the library that we will recognize tonight. And I wonder if I could ask some representatives of our library volunteers to please come up to the stage. Do we have some? If not, I'm on my own. We hit there. Well, Marianne, we can count on Marianne. Thank you, Marianne. Our library, as I said, our funding situation isn't good. It was 10 years ago that we put in a parcel tax that you've all paid, $33.66 a year. We're not raising it. And we recently went through a campaign, to reinstate that because it was about to expire in June. And we did, and it's, again, $33.66. So we've had that. We've had state cutbacks every year in funding. And yet, for the last 4 years, we have won the top award as the best library system in the entire nation. And that's all libraries for our population class. So decreasing funding. By the way, we have the Cupertino Library has the top circulation in our county, and yet we always win this award. And Marianne is great, and her staff is great. But when you've got 40 adults and 25 kids who come in and move those 6,300 boxes of books around as we change the libraries and make that happen, it just does your heart good, and it gives you the best library in the nation. It's the volunteers that make the difference, and I can't thank them enough. I've been on the board of the library system for the last 6 years, and it is a struggle to deal with less money. And the volunteers are always there. And, a good example of that, when we went to raise the tax, a lot of people questioned us about whether we were using the money wisely. Were we raising money because we were wasting it? But frankly, it was the volunteers and the friends and the Library Foundation that made our self-checkout happen. We are national leaders also in self-checkout. 95% of our materials are checked out by our patrons, which frees up the people that would be clerks there to do other interesting work in the library. So it's the volunteers. We can't thank them enough. I think we have to especially note the 25 of them are teenagers, and they are there lifting these books, sorting the books. They're sorting your returns week in, week out, putting in hours to give you the best library that you can possibly hope for. So let's thank our volunteers. And let me just guess that Marianne Wallace has something she'd like to say about the volunteers.
First of all, I'd like to thank Quota International of Cupertino for nominating our volunteers and our other library support groups. And thank you very much to Mayor Patrick Kwok and the Councilman Richard Lowenthal, Councilwoman Chris Wang, and Dolly Sandoval, and Sandra James for in the City of Cupertino for awarding the CREST Award to our volunteers and our support groups. Our volunteers are a wonderful group of people, as Richard said, from teens to senior citizens. We had lots of people come in when we were doing the move to the new library. We have regular volunteers who volunteer all year long, and we really couldn't do everything we do without them. I'd like to say thank you very much to each and every one of them. You really deserve this award. Thank you. Give yourselves a big round of applause.
Before I give the physical award here to Marianne to bring back to our volunteers, I want to also say that you've noticed that our library is a little bit bigger than the one we had a few years ago. It's roughly 50% physically bigger, but when we look at the effectivity, it's really double. Our library staff and volunteers made a commitment to the city that we would not have to add staffing when we increased the size of the library. That made all the difference in the world. We would not have been able to build the library because we would have not been able to staff it had the volunteers and the staff not stepped up to saying, we can support this library that's this much bigger and has this much more patronage because we've got dedicated staff and dedicated volunteers. So thank you especially for that. So here are your awards, and please bring them to your good friends there and the volunteers.
Thank you, volunteers.
Thank you. The other group that I would like to recognize, and hopefully there are a few of you out there, our library commissioners. Do we have some commissioners here that could join me on the stage, please? I'm hoping. There we go. Thank you all very much. So just to let you know, our library commissioners are all volunteers. We don't pay these folks. They come and have their meetings at City Hall, and their role is to advise us on making good decisions with regard to your library and your library services. You know, when you become a council member, I'm an engineer by trade. That's what I know how to do. And so when we have this great idea, which frankly emanated from the volunteers and the people in this room to build a new library, we don't really know much about it. We're not professional library professionals. So we call on some people that do know about libraries to work those issues and inform us and give us good advice about making the decisions. These are our experts. These are our subject matter experts on building a good library. So if you think this is a nice library, why don't you give them a round of applause? They deserve it. They've earned it. And I'm as proud of the work as I could possibly be. The library is just wonderful. And you know, there's a lot that goes into our library. Our library is not just about books anymore. Our library is a place to live and learn. It's a place to gather. It's a place for kids to come and do work together. All of that had to be defined by somebody. Somebody had to figure out where the rooms go and how big a teen studies center should be, and how much room there ought to be for the kids' story times. This is the group that pulls that together for the council and advises the council, and we really thank you for your expertise. One other thing that I want to mention about the commission. When I was mayor a few years ago, I went and visited our sister city in Hsinchu, which is in Taiwan. And one of the things that I did since our library was in the planning stage is I visited their library, because they have a library that they were kind of refurbishing at the time. And what was very nice about that visit, I was being escorted by Mayor Lin. I know you've now met Mayor Lin. He's a good friend of our city. He showed me the books that Diana Wu had sent to their library. We do a library exchange with our sister city, Hsinchu, and they are very proud of that, and they knew our commissioners' names. The mayor told me about the work that our commission did on behalf of Hsinchu and on behalf of the city of Cupertino. So once again, give them a round of applause. They're just wonderful people. Who's our chair right now?
Thank you very much, Richard, and thank you to the City Council for giving us this award. Thank you also to the Quota Club for nominating us. I'd also like to introduce my fellow commissioners, starting from my left, Ronald Miller, Eno Schmidt, Diana Wu, Janet Riddell, Susanna Tsai, and Kathy Stakey. Thank you again. I must mention one other group that's instrumental in everything we do, and that's Mary Ann Wallace and her superb library staff. Thank you.
Thanks very much. You could go. As I said, we have so many people that help us make the library happen. And frankly, our new library wouldn't be here without you. You know, I'm telling you, we were hounded by passionate people who believe in the library, who thought our community deserved the best, and they made that happen. And to introduce a few more of those, Mayor Kwok is going to come up, isn't that right? Councilman, oh, you're coming back. Councilmember Sandoval, please come on back up. Thank you very much.
Yeah, we like to shake things up a little bit, keep our colleagues on their toes here. Again, you've seen the video on the library. How many of you have been in the library? Raise your hands. Great. It looks like all of you because it's very dark up here looking at the audience. So I'm going to take that as a 100% affirmative yes. The library has many different components to it, and the volunteers in the library vary from organization to organization. But the people who run the book sales, who collect your books, earmark them, price them, put them out on the table, spend a weekend here now in this building having a book sale, raising money, do a phenomenal job. Let me just list off a couple of items that they have funded with the recent book sales. Mind you, while even the library was down for 2 years. In 2004, the Friends of the Cupertino Library gave $55,000 towards the furnishings of the story room, through the Library Furnishings campaign. They also created a lot of those self-checkout machines by raising another $24,000 and buying those numerous self-checkout machines. In fact, the Cupertino Library has the most out of all the libraries in the county system. This year, the Friends is donating $7,000 to purchase additional bestseller copies so that you, as library patrons, can go and get a bestseller as soon as it comes out and not have to wait for weeks and weeks on end for that book to be returned. They also, one of their favorite programs that they like to fund are the summer reading programs that benefit all the students here in Cupertino so that students stay up on literacy, love to read, and give them an excuse to go back to the library, check books out throughout the summer, and keep that knowledge going. That's actually very close to my heart as both an educator, and the first community service I ever did was through the adult literacy program with Santa Clara County at a library in San Jose. So I would like the Friends of the Library to come up, and let me introduce them as they're coming up. Our president this year is Kathy Stakey. Vice President Jean Gallup. Secretary Judy Sharpen. Treasurer Bob Goodman. Book salesperson Gladys Malden. Hospitality chair, you gotta love a committee with a hospitality chair, Donna Van Schack. Membership chair Betsy Clark, and our publicity chairperson Colin Jung. I've enjoyed the work you've done. It's spectacular. my heart goes out to each and every one of you for the services that you provide here to the residents of Cupertino. Thank you. All right. Kathy, would you like to say a few words?
Yes, thank you very much, Councilwoman Sandoval, and thank you to our City Council and Honorable Mayor Kwok. I just don't know what to say because we volunteer because we love it and have a passion for it. We don't expect somebody to reward us in some way where we have to come up with a thank you. But I do want to mention two individuals who are really, really key to our being, and they are in the audience. It is Kurt Woodruff and his wife Lois Woodruff. Kurt, why don't you come on up, Kurt, so people can get a look at you too. Kurt and Lois planted the seed for the Friends of the Library almost 40 years ago, and they have worked passionately at it, and Kurt still does. Come on up, Kurt. And as many of the other groups have stated, we couldn't do it without the support of our librarian, Marianne Wallace, and her staff. They're fabulous, and it makes us feel good to be able to contribute to her library. And this is Kurt Woodruff. Thank you all very much.
Okay, so your gifts, I'm going to give each one of you a proclamation to share with the members. And then Kurt, if you and Lois would accept this honor on the city's behalf, we would appreciate it. Thank you very much. Now it's my honor to ask Mayor Patrick Kwok to come up for our concluding award.
Thank you, Dolly. In the past 15 minutes, we've been talking about the library. We introduced a group of distinguished volunteers, the library volunteers, the Cupertino Library Commission, the Friends of the Cupertino Library. But we still have one more group of very distinguished volunteers that we'd like to recognize. This is the Cupertino Library Foundation. The foundation is comprised of a volunteer board and has no paid staff. The foundation complements the efforts of the Friends of the Cupertino Library and cooperates with them and with the Cupertino Library Commission in efforts to enhance the Cupertino Library. In 1999, Cupertino asked the voters to see if they would like to build a library, and the voters overwhelmingly said, yes, we'd like to see a little library, but they did not tell us where the money is going to be from. So the library whole project is around about $25 million, and we are short of money. So we had to make a decision whether we should retain the old furniture, the computers, the fixtures, and the equipment, or go and raise some money to cover this equipment. So we challenged the Cupertino Library Foundation, which has been in operation for 11 years, and they have a 501c nonprofit status. We asked them, could you be able to help? And they overwhelmingly say yes. And they, in the past two years, I have the privilege to work with the members of the Library Foundations. We asked them to set a goal to raise $1.3 million for the equipment and fixtures, and up to right now, they have raised almost $800,000, and the thermometer is still rising, and I'm sure with the help of the communities, they will meet the goal. So it is my extreme pleasure to introduce the members of the Cupertino Foundations. It's a group of people. I like to mention them as I mentioned them. Would you please come up to the podium? And starting with Alan Bidwell, Jackie Doyle, Thelma Epstein, Bridget Gallen, Chin Su, Jack Hubby, Jim Jackson, Ed Jacob, Peter Kana, Bob couple, Cindy Lippert, Michael Lasser, Nicole Lee, Charles Najet, Jim McKinney, Jerry McMulvey, Fariba Najet, Jim Olaf, Alex Olsenich, Janet Radau, Barbara Rogers, Pat Rogers, Enoch Smith, Dolphy Stowe, and Gail West. Did I miss anybody? Bob Adams. Are you here, Bob Adams?
Somebody has to be in the line of fire.
The Library Foundation has risen up to the occasion and met our challenge. So it is my privilege to present the CREST Award to a group of very, very distinguished citizens and volunteers who helped to make Cupertino Library one of the biggest assets of Cupertino and one of the best library in the county. I don't have 7 of those, but I'm representing and from our legislatures.
Thank you.
Would you like to say something, Pat?
On behalf of the Cupertino Library Foundation, I would like to thank the committee which awarded the CREST Awards and to Quota International of Cupertino, which nominated all the Library Foundation groups. We are certainly a nonprofit organization, but our goal is to make the library better as best we can. We have an outstanding library. We have an outstanding supervising librarian in Marianne Wallace. And the best thing we have and our biggest asset is that the people of Cupertino, like the members of the foundation, love their library. And we would not be able to accomplish very much without the support of all those people. So I would like to thank them also.
Before I conclude tonight's event, I'd like to give special thanks to Rick Kitson, who is our public relations officer, and his staff, the video camera people. They spent numerous hours to make the video and make this event a very successful one. For those recipients of the past CREST Award, I applaud you, and I thank you with a deep appreciation. And for those recipients tonight, once again, I thank you, but also want to thank their spouses, their friends, their families. These are the people that give them the support to do some volunteer work. Once again, I thank you, everybody. Let's give another round of applause to all the CREST Award winners. And this has been a very remarkable year. And the people in this room have made this remarkable year possible. And I thank you very much for coming to join us. And we have some refreshments in the lobby. Once again, thank you very much and good evening.